GALXBOY is a high-end streetwear brand that has been making waves in South Africa and beyond for the past decade. It has its roots in the underground and rebellious youth street culture that dominates the urban centers of Mzansi. Its founder saw a gap in the market for a brand that was designed by the youth for the youth, in particular, millennials as well as Generation Z. Through ambition, perseverance and teamwork, the brand was born in June 2008. The GALXBOY aesthetic is characterized by its innovative designs brought to life through a 21st-century African design philosophy that showcases the modern aspirations of South African youth. The brand draws its inspiration from the new age youth of South Africa who constantly redefine what it means to be African, young, wild, and free. The result is a unique fusion of urban streetwear and African-inspired design that speaks to a generation of young people who want to make a statement. GALXBOY has maintained its relevance for over 14 years. It's a streetwear brand with a hint of luxury. The catch is they make it affordable in the South African market. On the iconic graphic tees to the minimalistic dome bags or embossed totes, which sell out like a Teflon bag, they have a good understanding of what South Africans want and how to keep that demand. In order for us to understand how GALXBOY became one of South Africa's biggest clothing brands, let's take a closer look at the life of its founder, Thiso Dube, aka Tots, or Mr. Vuitos. Born and bred in Mamelodi, a township in the northeast of Pretoria, Vuitos went to La Montagne Primary School and Cornerstone College. Growing up, he used to DJ and even wanted to study sound engineering or become a music producer after finishing high school. However, he found passion in fashion after taking inspiration from his brother. In grade 12, he moved to Centurion to stay with his father. While there, a friend of his called Kotso introduced him to then rising hip-hop star, Anati, and a bromance was formed. They always chilled together whenever time he was in the studio recording and perfecting his craft. Every weekend he was at Anati's house, and since he was sort of privileged and tech-savvy, he introduced him to the internet and Photoshop. Anati also introduced him to Alma Kip Kip and its founder, Kosana Modisi, because at that time he was ambassador of the brand. Growing up, he didn't think it was possible for normal guys like himself to design and run their own brands. He thought that spot was only reserved for the likes of Nikes, Adidas, and Pumas. Finding out Alma Kip Kip was owned by a black person shifted his mindset and made him believe even he could do it too. He started playing with Windows Paint and started learning about layering and experimenting with different shapes. A friend of his had a cracked version of Photoshop, so he sat in his bedroom for hours on end teaching himself through YouTube tutorials and eventually cracked it. He gained enough confidence and came out with a logo that heavily copied Alma Kip Kip, and then printed out a few t-shirts to give to his friends from school to wear during service. Due to the positive reception from his peers, the Cheeseboy brand was founded. The girls became envious and requested their own version, so he honored their desires with Cheesegirl. Cheeseboy and Cheesegirl did really well. Vuitos ended up making over 5,000 rands during his high school stay, which was a lot of money for him at that time. From then going forward, he was hooked on forever to the entrepreneurial world. After matriculating in 2008, he enrolled for internal auditing at the University of Pretoria. By this time he had already formed a relationship with the Alma Kip Kip founder. As he learned more about clothing and fashion, he realized he had to combine his 2008 brands together, Cheeseboy and Cheesegirl, as well as come up with a new and an improved logo. Initially he came up with GALXBOY, but the name was just too long and wouldn't be easily relatable, so he removed the cheese at the beginning of the name and was left with GALXBOY that most people are familiar with today. The inspiration and the name for the design of GALXBOY is basically an equation of what girls do because of boys and what boys do because of girls. In 2011, through a Chinese supplier he got on Alibaba, he took a chance and made 500 red and blue caps with the new GALXBOY logo that costed him $1 each. The money to pay for all of this came from his father. Vuitos managed to sell like 250 of them and failed to sell the remaining half, so it dawned on him that he had to come up with a marketing strategy in order to gain some traction for the new brand. So he used a September homecoming event as an opportunity to get his brand out there. During the event, instead of selling, he gave out the caps for free to anyone he met. In exchange, he took their pictures wearing that cap, and also asked them to follow GALXBOY on social media. He posted all the pictures, and that had people talking, so much so that even Kosana offered him a contract worth 6,000 rands per month to design the winter collection for Ama Kip Kip. Vuittos refused and countered with his own offer instead. With less responsibilities and youthful age by his side, he told Kosana that he'll intern for free if he mentors him and shows him the ropes. So in exchange for designing Ama Kip Kip's 2012 winter collection, Kosana plugged him with everything he knows. After 2 years of studying auditing, he had switched to retail management and studied for another 2 years before dropping out in 2012 to focus exclusively on making GALXBOY a success. It was just too difficult to juggle between studying, interning for Ama Kip Kip and also building his own brand. However, before dropping out, Vuittos asked his parents to give him at least a year to prove that GALXBOY can become a success, and if that didn't happen, he'd go back to university to finish the course and get a job. Of course that didn't happen. One day he received a call from Kosana that in 2 weeks' time, he'll be going to China for work purposes, so if he can come up with 10,000 rands for flight tickets, he can tag along and he'll cover the rest of the expenses. He called his father and everything was set. Before flying, Kosana told him to get his own stuff ready, so in the week leading up to that, he made sure everything relating to GALXBOY was set, from the designs, logos, winter and summer collection. So together with Kosana and rapper De Les, Vuittos went to China to check clothing factories and material suppliers for Ama Kip Kip's new clothing range. When they got there, he was impressed by the quality he saw. China was like a new world to him. It was so different from his country of birth, everything was busy and moving. After doing the Ama Kip Kip range, he also gave his own GALXBOY designs to the manufacturers in order to come up with samples which costed around 12 to 20,000 rands, and was paid for by Kosana. However, Vuittos couldn't come back with the first samples immediately, they were later shipped to South Africa. After receiving them, he did a photo shoot and were positively received by the market. This gave him so much confidence and made him realize he needed serious capital to get GALXBOY to the top. A friend of his called Skilo, whom he met through another friend, was interested in GALXBOY. He liked the brand and everything. So Vuittos sold him 20% of the company for 100,000 rands. He went back to China again by himself, met with the manufacturers and got the clothes done. They were shipped in September and dropped at a street cred event in the same month. At the time it was a simple formula for Vuittos, he wanted GALXBOY out there. He sold most of the range and the brand started gaining popularity not only in Pretoria but the rest of Gauteng, and was being recognized by brands that he looked up to. He was using his father's car to deliver the orders. Wherever he went with the car, he made sure to load up stock and sell whenever an opportunity presented itself during events, festivals, chilla spots, national parks, etc. Artists started approaching him saying they needed some of his gear for music videos and photo shoots, and since he was already familiar with most of the cats in the music industry, it was very easy for them to post GALXBOY organically because they actually liked the product. Hip-hop acts such as Anati, Kulichana, and DJ Dimples were some of the standard supporters. More brands started recognizing his efforts in the game. Castle Light, one of South Africa's best-selling beer brand, approached him to produce limited edition merchandise as part of their experience for the first annual Castle Light Unlocks experience. He has since collaborated with brands like MTV Base, Smirnoff, VW South Africa on their Polo Vivo Miswenko campaign, and more recently, Nedbank to create Youth X, a movement designed to unlock youth potential. These milestones allowed GALXBOY to pivot. It was no longer just a clothing brand but a fully functional business. The brand has evolved into more of a supplier and manufacturer in the local context. By late 2013, he was approached by 2 investors from Fumani Holdings, who wanted to invest and essentially expand the brand by opening up a store in Hatfield and more afterwards. Vuittos met with them and they struck a deal. Under terms of the deal, GALXBOY, which by then was a registered company, retained 60% ownership while Fumani Holdings took home the remaining 40%. It was agreed that Vuittos would handle the creative side, while Fumani dealt with running the business. The store hit the ground running and made over 100,000 rands on the first day of opening. By the end of 2014, GALXBOY had made between 2 to 5 million rands in total revenue. However, by 2017, trouble started to creep in. The investors dishonored the agreement and wanted to dictate creative direction of the brand, which of course angered Vuittos. In response to this, he systematically destroyed his own company, knowing very well that age was on his side and also the fact that, if he can grow a brand once, he certainly can do it again. As a result, the GALXBOY store in Hatfield shut down. Of course, the investors didn't want to go down without a fight and demanded that he pay them their money back, which he refused because the money had run out at that point. Since there was no formal separation, GALXBOY couldn't no longer run as a business. Vuittos faced the harshest punishment any entrepreneur could face. From 2017 to 2020, he couldn't do much but sit at home and not only absorb the failure but reflect on it too. He also came up with new designs and direction for the brand, as well as studying a free online course in luxury and fashion management to gain more knowledge. GALXBOY was owing taxes, and this affected other businesses Fumani Holdings was running. Wanting to solve this mess, the investors eventually contacted him to sign some papers. Vuittos used that as leverage and told them he'll only sign if they dissolve their 40% stake in GALXBOY, to which they agreed, and just like that, his brand was back where it belonged. Upon reflection, Vuittos said that was a gift from God. Since the country was under lockdown regulations due to COVID-19 breakout, he set up an online store, galxboy.co.za, and then one of South Africa's greatest entrepreneurial comeback stories began. Vuittos was fortunate enough to land a design job for Trace TV at this point, which he got paid around 70,000 rands and used all of that money to order 900 t-shirts and started selling on the store basically. From then onwards, he went into sunglasses, handbags, sandals and bucket hats, which to this day sell out like hotcakes. Another important factor in the success of GALXBOY is teamwork. Vuittos understood that he couldn't do it alone and surrounded himself with a talented and dedicated team. In January 2022, he launched a pickup point inside a store at Co-Space Entrepreneur Village in Pretoria East. He did that for several months and built up enough cash reserves to open an actual store in Menlyn Park Shopping Center in July 2022. After working in a 60 square meters garage with no lights for some time, Vuittos and the team moved to a new 800 square meters warehouse in February 2022. With over 70 employees now, the company has since launched 2 more physical stores in the Free State and Cape Town, with 2 more stores set to open in Limpopo and Mpumalanga during the month of October, and another one in Durban somewhere in November of this year. Creating a successful brand is never easy. It takes hard work, perseverance, and a willingness to take risks. GALXBOY has faced its share of challenges along the way, but Vuittos and his team have always stayed true to their vision. They have continued to innovate and push the boundaries of what streetwear can be, and as a result, they have built a loyal following of fans who love the brand's unique style and message. One of the keys to the success of GALXBOY is Vuittos' vision. He understands the youth culture in South Africa and has a deep understanding of what drives young people. He saw an opportunity to create a brand that spoke to this audience and seized it. From the beginning, he knew that he wanted GALXBOY to be more than just a clothing brand. He wanted it to be a movement that would inspire young people to be their best selves. So what's next for GALXBOY? Well, let's let the creative director and founder of the brand, Thatiso Dube, aka Mr. Cheeseboy himself, explain it by his own words so you can believe us.
I'm not too sure if we are meant to reveal this one, but you also said there's something else on the cards.
Yeah, we basically going into sneakers as well. Jewelry, like the chain I'm wearing.
One chain.
Yeah, so we also recently did some earrings. So we basically going for everything, man. Yeah.
You're coming for
Whatever
everything.
we can make, we'll make. Whatever the people want, we'll make for them.
Can we also have the bucket hats back?
Yeah, no, we do have buckets.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just don't see it on the online store.
No, you need to check every day.
I need to check every day.
Yeah.
That's good because that warehouse looks like every day it's a fully booked thing.
Sure.
Yeah.